Hello, Philip here, and welcome to part 2 of shading and light. So today I'm going to show you how to shade the head from all sorts of different angles. First off, I'm going to show you with ambient light, which is basically your more traditional light. So what you're thinking here is more daytime. This is basically your general go-to lighting. So let's give it a go. Okay, so let's say our light's coming from above. It's a sunny day. Let's give it a go. So this side of the face is going to be mostly in shadow. And again, I'm leaving a little halo space so that you can actually see the edge of my character. Otherwise, it looks like that and you lose the dynamics of the actual face shape. So I want to make sure that I leave just a little halo so that you can still see the actual shape of the face. Now the nose is going to cast a bit of shadow on this side. So I'm just going to put in a bit of that. Just going to bring the cheek around a little bit, which is also going to leave my lip a little bit more exposed. Now the upper side of my eye socket is going to have a little bit more shadow in it. This side of the face is also going to be affected by the hair. So I'm going to bring that right into the hair. And this side over here is going to be a little bit of shadow and a little bit of a shadow underneath. And the furrow of the bit between the eyebrows is going to have a little bit more of a shadow. And just down here we're going to have a little bit of shadow from the face. And of course there's going to be a bit of a shadow underneath the jaw because the head itself is going to cause a bit of shadow. So now I'm going to work on our female now so we can see how that one looks from the same light source. The hair again, it's going to cause a bit of shadow, so I'm going to put that in first. And this side of the face over here is going to cause a bit of shadow, leaving a halo. A bit of the nose is going to be in shadow. We want to keep the nose still a bit dainty, so I'm not going to do too much shadow. Just remember with females, less is more. I'll put a little bit of a shadow on this side of the lip, a little bit of a shadow underneath this side of the eye, whereas a lot more shadow under this side. And this part of the hair is also going to cast a bit of shadow, because you'll notice it's forward on the face. And again, the jaw is going to cause a bit of shadowing. And there we go, there's our basic shading for our typical normal day for our characters' faces. Okay, so that's ambient light, that's standard. Now let's add a little bit of mood lighting. Let's imagine our light just coming from the top. Ooh, dynamic. So what our light sources are going to mostly be hitting the stuff that's above. So we're going to see a lot more light on these spots over here. Now with the lip here, you're going to probably think, well, that's the top lip, so it's mostly going to be in light. But remember, the shadow is going to be cast from the nose. So these parts here will also be in shadow. So let's give this one a go. So most of the top here is going to be quite dark until we get to the muscles of our eyebrows. Now we're going to have quite a bit of shadow down the side of the face here. Same on this side. Again, I'm still leaving a bit of a halo so you can still see the definition of the side of the face. So the cheek here is going to be quite lit up, so everything under the cheek is going to be quite dark. Same on this side as well. We're basically going to have just this area here of the chin lit up. So I'm going to bring this light to the actual base of the lip and bring that around. Now all that is quite dark. Now remember I said the nose is going to cast a shadow, so I'm going to make sure I put that in. And I'm going to bring this up to follow the creases of the mouth. So now we're getting a really interesting effect. Now the eyes, what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to shade in that whole section of the eye socket to make it look really cool. So that whole section now is quite dark. And of course, we've got to make sure that we put in our shadow underneath the chin. And there we go, there's our man. Now how cool does that look? It can be quite heroic, stoic, menacing, but that's our lighting from above. Okay, so now let's work on our female. Again, same lighting from above. Now remember the hair is going to be causing quite a bit of shadow first up, so I'm going to put that in. So I'm going to carry this around to the base there, bringing my line up, relieving a halo. Same on the other side. And as we did with our fellow, let's put in a nice halo on top of the chin. I'm just going to curve this around the chin. The nose again casts a bit of shadow. Nose isn't as big so it doesn't go down as low. And the eye sockets again make them look really cool. There we go. Oh, can't forget the chin casts a shadow. There we go. So there's our characters with the light from the top, straight above them, looking down in a dark room. Looks kind of cool, mysterious, menacing, heroic, stoic. Interesting effect. Now let's try something really spooky. Lighting from below. Now because this is the opposite light source, it's almost going to be the opposite shading effect. So the cheeks this time are going to be very dark. Now the bridge of the nose is going to be quite dark as well. Now the top of the nose itself is going to be quite dark as well, so I'm just going to fill that in. Now this time, this section here is going to be quite lit up. So I'm going to leave those bits this time. All right, so now I'm going to have a nice lit up part here, whereas the rest of the top of the forehead is basically in shadow, like that. Now this time the top of the lip is going to be mostly in shadow. It's going to go right up to the nose. Now on contrary, this part of the lip is going to be quite lit up, but the stuff around it is not going to be. Now this time with the neck, I'm only going to have a little bit for the Adam's apple and for the side of these muscles along the neck here. So now let's try it on our female. Same effect, so the top of the lip and around the nose, we're going to have quite a bit of shadow. Followed around to the cheeks. And again, a bit of a bridge of the eyebrow. And same thing with the chin. Most of the chin is going to be quite lit up except for the stuff at the top. Now women don't have an Adam's apple, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to darken the clavicle and have the darkness sort of coming down from the sides, like that. Now that's our lighting from underneath. Quite spooky, quite scary. That's if you want a sort of spooky mood. That's a really good light source. Okay, now one final dramatic lighting effect. Let's do the lighting from both sides. Let's say the light is behind and it's very bright. So say it's daytime outside and your characters are entering a dark room. So most of the light this time is going to curve around from the sides, which means this time we're going to have a big bar of shadow right across the center of the face. So basically what you're thinking is light, light, dark. So what parts will be lit up and what parts will be quite dark. Now the nose is going to stick out a little bit, so I'm going to have a little bit of a shine on the nose on either side, and then continue my lighting effect. Boom, there we go. Filling it in. And the lips are also quite dark, and the chin is going to actually curve in. So the light's coming from the sides because it's wrapping around, whereas the center here is going to be quite dark, which means most of our lighting underneath in the neck is going to be very dark, with the exception of these muscles and Adam's apple. Boom, there you go. And again, let's do it for our female. So again, with our lady, we're going to bring that around, wanting the center to be quite dark. Now this part of the body sort of dips in a bit, so that's why I'm coloring that in. Basically, that's what you're doing. You're figuring out what part's dipping behind and what part's staying out in the sun. And this time there's no Adam's apple, so most of this area here is going to be quite dark. So that's our character lit up from behind or from both sides. Okay, so that's our characters done in black and white. What I'm going to do now is just quickly show you what it would look like if they were in color. So here's our ambient lighting, or the general lighting. Now you'll notice that this time, instead of using black, I used a darker skin tone for the edge, but I've also put on a lighter skin tone to just accentuate the light coming from the side. Same as I did on our girl over here. So that's our general ambient lighting. This is our lighting from above. You'll notice that I put a little bit more highlights on the top edge, whereas on the sides of the lip, I've left that just the neutral skin tone color. Lighting from below, you'll notice that the halo really accentuates this effect now. It makes it just pop a lot more. And lighting from the back. And again, you'll notice that the edges are very well lit up, whereas the center, we have like this, almost like this line in the center that shows the shadowing in the center. So there we have it, some dynamic guides for showing you how to do some shading on your character's head. So just remember, every character in your panel is affected by the same set of light. So this panel, everyone is affected by the same sunlight coming in nice and strong, whereas this one, there's only one light source directly above, which they are both affected by. They're both affected by the light from underneath, and they're both affected from the light behind. Ultimately though, the main thing you want to think about is, where is your main light source? Now if you missed out on part 1 of our shading and lighting, make sure you check out this video right here where I go into details on how to show you lighting on the body. Or if you want to touch up on drawing a female head, make sure you check out this video where I go into detail on how to draw a really good female head.